I'm treating this gal, a young gal in her 70s, that started having a lot of difficulty walking. And when I say difficulty, it was back pain and leg pain as she continued to walk. And it was right at that 2,000 steps mark that things became really difficult for her. And she knows because she always had a pedometer on her. She would always walk thousands of steps a day. And then over time, she noticed that walking became really, really hard. And that's how she ended up in front of me. So before this patient of mine was walking 8,000 steps pain-free, she was only at 2,000 steps with a lot of discomfort. And that discomfort for her was back pain and leg pain right when she hit that 2,000 step mark. And I know because she showed me her pedometer. She is a walker, she'd always been a walker, and about that 2,000 step mark, she started having a lot of pain. She thought it was just normal arthritis, but it hung on for so long that she went and got an MRI. And that MRI showed degenerative changes, arthritis, disc bulges, some herniations, and some loss of space in her spine. And she wasn't sure what was going on, but she was told that she either needed to A, see a physical therapist, or B, receive an injection, or C, go see ortho. And she didn't really like the last two options, so she decided to have some physical therapy. She started talking to some of her friends were seeing me, and so that's how she ended up in front of me. But what was even more important in her case is that I knew she wanted to get back to walking. She was having pain with walking. She had no idea what was going on. She had no idea what to do about it. And then after spending some time with her, and just after a few sessions, she went from 2,000 steps with pain to 8,000 steps without pain. And today I want to show you exactly how we did that and the rules we followed to make sure that she wasn't doing her body any harm and she was doing exactly what she needed to improve her walking ability. My name is Dr. Michael Derry. I'm a physical therapist, and how I took this patient from 2,000 steps with pain to 8,000 steps without pain came after 10 years of experience, residency training, doing some research on this, writing my book, and doing some other things to help me figure out, okay, when this patient comes in front of me, this is exactly what we need to do, and this gal hit a home run with her care. I'm gonna show you the 3 steps that we went through to help her do that. So here's how we did that. 3 steps. 1, we had to know more. 2, we had to do more. And 3, we had to do a very specific walking program with very specific rules. And I'm gonna go over those rules with you because that's where most people go wrong. And so they have an idea of what stretches and what strengthening exercises they need to do. They're kind of learning along the way, but they're doing okay. But the walking program is really where the secret sauce is. And you need to follow very specific rules when you're trying to walk and having pain while walking. Before we get to those rules, we need to figure out the other 2 steps first. So know more and then do more. So know more comes from the diagnosis. We had to figure out what was going on with her. Well, here's what I knew. I knew that she was having pain at 2,000 steps, and I knew that it progressively got worse, and that's all I knew. So I started deciphering that a little bit more, and that's kind of how we helped figure out what was going on with her, but that's kind of how I came up with this quiz. And so you'll see this quiz in the description. It's absolutely free. It's 5 minutes of your time to help you figure out what is causing your walking difficulty, because there are very specific diagnoses. If you have difficulty with walking, in that diagnosis, you need to follow a very specific plan, and that's what I did with my patient, and that's what I did with this quiz. So make sure you check it out. So the first question that I had for this patient was, as you continue to walk, does your pain get worse? And she was like, okay, yes, it does get worse. I'm like, okay, so tell me more. So as she continued to walk and the worsening of pain in her back and down her legs, and she started having some tingling. So she was able to check that box. Yes, her pain got worse as she continued to walk. Then the follow-up question for that is, okay, your pain is worsening as you walk. For her, it was that 2,000 step mark. The second question, when you sat down, how long did your pain stick around? And for her, it was an immediate relief when she sat down. I say immediate, but within 1 to 2 minutes. She wasn't achy, she wasn't sore, her pain in her back and her leg and her foot just went away. Those are the 2 questions that if you answer yes to those, or even just one of those, my suspicion for lumbar spinal stenosis significantly increases, and it absolutely matched this client. So if you answer yes to any of those questions or both of those, you're going to benefit greatly for what I'm about to go over next. And even if you didn't, you can still get some benefit with the stuff we're about to go over. So this patient answered yes to both of those questions, which allowed us to know more about her symptoms. And we were able to do a lot of education about lumbar spinal stenosis, and I'm about to do that with you right now, very snippet before we go over the doing portion. So here's the 15,000 foot view, and this is what I told her. With lumbar spinal stenosis, I would expect you to have some changes on your MRI, and that's exactly what she had. She had arthritis, she had a little bit of disc bulges, herniations. I don't really remember now. She had an MRI. It was kind of like a laundry list of things, and that's a lot. Well, that's very common with my other clients as well. If you're 70 years old, you're going to have some changes, no doubt about it. Statistically saying, you're going to have something. So those changes in MRI wasn't necessarily spinal stenosis as one, but altogether she ended up having spinal stenosis. And I said, with those changes on your MRI, plus your difficulty with walking, tells me that over time, your nerves in your back are starting to get a little tired. They're getting a little bit compressed and they start to show some symptoms. And those symptoms for you is back pain and or leg pain as you continue to walk and immediate relief as you sit down. That's the 15,000 foot view, just to get a little bit of education around stenosis. If you want some more, check out my book or this ebook that I just released. I'll put those links in the description as well, but it's gonna help you learn more about spinal stenosis before we start doing more. Let's get into the doing portion right now. And these are the things that I did specifically with her to immediately improve her walking ability. So after we know more, you know that we have to do more. And as a physical therapist, and this patient was a little bit worried when I was coming to see her because she thought she would have to be doing a gazillion exercises to feel better and get the results that she was looking for. And I really blew her mind because it's not the case, right? With stenosis, you can't really strengthen your way out of it. You need to improve nerve health and mobility and get your body's tolerance to walking to improve. And we did that with 3 exercises. And so these are the 3 exercises that I did. In fact, they're very easy to do, so follow along here. So you're gonna get a chair, it's gonna have a back, you're gonna put your leg up, and now the order of this is important, so do it in this order. And I'm gonna put the exact reps and sets in the description, so don't worry about like writing all that down right now, but just learn the exercise. So foot up on the chair, hang on to an edge if you need to, and then you're going to do the hip flexor strengthening here, because with walking, we're not able to extend our leg behind us as far as we would like. And when you have pain with standing and walking, you sit more, so we need to stretch out those hip flexors. So stretch those hip flexors and then lean back, straighten that front leg and go down in the hamstring stretch. So hip flexor to hamstring, and guess the name of this exercise, hip flexor to hamstring stretch. So you're gonna do 10 reps with each thing here. So this is 1 rep for the hip flexor, 1 rep for the hamstring, 2nd rep for the hip flexor, 2nd rep for the hamstring. So 10 total. You're gonna move into a fluid movement with a 1 second hold. Hold on to something if you need to. Hip flexor to hamstring stretch. This is prepping your body for walking, because if you take me off of that bench and have me hip flexor and hamstring stretch, this is walking. This is the exact stance that you need for walking. We're trying to improve that, but we need to do a flexion-based program to improvement, and that's what this is. Flexion is forward, and then flexion is forward here. I'm not extending my back. I'm a little bit forward. So hip flexor to hamstring, 10 on each side, and for this client in particular, she did well with doing this stretch at what she had like a little threshold, a little step in her threshold. She put her shoes on to get ready for her walk, and then she did the 10 reps, each leg on each side. Hip flexor to hamstring, 10 on each side, and then she went and did her walk. So this is the mobility portion. She thought she would have to do a bajillion stretches. It's not the case. She only did 1 stretch, 1 mobilization, and that's it. This hip flexor to hamstring, hip flexor to hamstring. But it's not the whole story. We know that mobility and improving nerve health is important. So after you do that hip flexor to hamstring stretch, you need to be going into some strengthening. And so if you're about to go for a walk, do that stretch, do your walk, and do the strengthening later. But when you go to do your strengthening, do the hip flexor to hamstring stretch and then strengthen. I do recommend getting a suspension trainer, because we want to use flexion as your friend with stenosis, because we want to open up the spine and improve nerve health. And so you're going to go down into the squat to start off. Suspension trainer squat. This is great because it's going to allow you to get deep into that squat without feeling like you're falling. So now with walking is a endurance exercise. So we're gonna do a little bit more reps. You're gonna do 15 or 20 reps of the squats. It should be relatively pain-free. I'm not saying effort-free. Definitely not saying it's easy. But what I'm saying is it's infectious. It's effective for improving your strength and endurance. And guess what? A little bonus here. You get a little arm strengthening in, and you get to do that good squat. The hip flexor to hamstring stretch, followed by some squats here. That's safe. You're not going to feel like you fall. You're falling. You don't have to worry about getting in a chair and sitting way back into it. That limits your range of motion. Do the suspension trainer squat. Grab those handles. Go way down, as far down as you feel comfortable. And then squat. And even for me, I don't have spinal stenosis, or at least not yet. And I still get winded. So a couple sets of 15 or 20. Now, if you're looking for a detailed program around that, about how often this patient did it, just check out that ebook. It's all mapped out in there. Now, she wanted to improve her posture, so as a bonus, we did the rows here. So posture for her was that as she continued to walk, she was here, and then had to be down here because that's what felt good to her. And that makes sense because your spine is trying to open up to give your nerves some space. But let's strengthen those anti-gravity muscles and those posture muscles. So a little row here, have a little bit of a decline, slow, controlled, row, row, row. Now you notice I'm not going all the way up. I'm not there. Elbows are high and tight, tight against the side of my body. And I'm doing 15 or 20 reps with this row, slow and controlled. You'll notice I look like I've done this before, which I have, but it may not start that way. You may not have the strength to get 12 or 15 reps, and that's okay. But that's it, folks, right? You've got the nerve mobility and of hip mobility and back mobility with the hip flexor to hamstring. Then you finish it with the squats and the rows, and that's gonna give you some endurance muscles. Give those endurance muscles some strength as you walk. So doing the knowing more, which we learn about more about spinal stenosis, we do more, and then we're about to go over the details of the walking program that will make your results just skyrocket and what really took this patient from 2,000 steps to 8,000 steps. So we just went over the doing more to give your spine and nerves some relief and support your hip strength to help you improve your walking. It's not a lot of exercises, right? It's just enough to get the ball rolling. And it's a great place to start. And so you could do those exercises. That's going to be great. You're going to improve your mobility of your hips and nerve, as well as increase some space and some strength. That's going to support the next step, which is the walking program. And there are very specific rules about the walking program that we need to follow when you have lumbar spinal stenosis to improve your endurance, reduce your pain, and give you extra distance so you can walk the distance that you want and you're not holding other people up, and you can gain some more confidence in your everyday life. Let's go over those rules right now. You're allowed to have some pain, okay? And this particular client, she thought pain while walking was a stop sign, but it's more like a yellow light. Let me explain what you need to be looking for. When you're having pain, it is okay to have back pain when you walk. Back pain, central back pain here, it's gonna happen for a little bit. That is the least of our concerns. So in this patient example, she started out as a 0 out of 10 pain. As she walked her first 1,000 steps, her back became achy and sore, which was okay. I told her to keep pushing through that. But then as she hit that 2,000 step mark, that 2,000 steps, she started having some hamstring and pain down the leg. That's the red light. So the yellow light being back pain, and what I typically say is a 2 out of 10. So if you start out at a 0, you start to walk, you have some back pain, it's going up to a 2, that's okay. Keep walking. You don't need to rest. You don't need to stretch. Remember the hip flexor to hamstring stretch? You can do that at any point in time in walking, but you don't need to do that if you're only having back pain. That's only a +2 of pain out of the 0 out of 10 scale. So back pain is okay. What's not okay is leg pain, because that's indicative of nerve health and nerve pain, and nerves are treated differently than muscle and joints. So muscle and joint soreness here in the lower back as you continue to walk, relatively okay. What's not okay is the nerve pain. So if you have nerve pain, you need to lean on one of the flexion-friendly exercises that I go over, or the hip flexor to hamstring stretch, or just simply bending over when you walk, or putting your hands on your knees. Those are all flexion-based exercises that you can do while you walk if you're having a nerve pain or pain traveling down your leg as you walk. So this particular client, when she first started off with me, was right at that 2,000 step mark. She started having pain down her leg. And then at that moment, she did a flexion-based exercise to immediately have relief. So that's rule number 1 as we're approaching and building a very robust walking program, is that back pain is okay, mild pain is okay, but as it increases, you need to stretch or do a flexion-based exercise, but you need to avoid nerve pain at all times. The next step to a great walking program for lumbar spinal stenosis is you have to walk every day. And for this client, it was that 2,000 steps that was really bothersome for her. So we walked that every single day until we noticed that increasing, but then we walked even more. But if we remove the fact that you have lumbar spinal stenosis, it is still recommended that every single human being walk 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day. So we need to be working up towards increasing walking ability, your walking ability. And that's how this patient ended up in front of me. She was having a lot of problems walking. Walking is really important to her. It's important for every human being. So we need to focus on it. So you need to walk every day. So the caveats with walking every day is that you could do any stretches that you want before walking. So before you walk, you stretch. And this client, she liked that hip flexor to hamstring stretch. She did that 10, 15 reps each way, each side before she went and walked, and she started noticing that would improve her symptoms, allow her to walk longer before she had back pain and or leg pain, which is great. You can walk during, you can stretch during your walk. So if you have pain, like we just spoke about, back pain and or leg pain that's increasing, you stop and you stretch. For her, she had a bench nearby, so she would stop and stretch when her pain increased, and then she would start back up and walk when she was done and felt better. And so we need to be walking every day, and we need to continue that until you're just happy where you're at, or you just are wanting to walk every day. I think it's totally fine if you want to walk every day, no matter your age. So walking every day is really important because your nerves need to get used to it. We're improving the tolerance. And as you noticed with the pain, the very first step that we talked about, pain is a yellow light. We need to get our body used to feeling that, because with stenosis, it's more of a space issue, and those things causing the reduction in space are degenerative in nature, which means they increase over time. But that doesn't mean your symptoms will increase over time, which means that means you just need to be focusing on improving your walking ability, because it's important to you and it's important for the health of your nerves. So step number 1, it's okay to have a little bit of back pain, but no pain down the leg. Step number 2, you need to be walking every day. And let's go on to the third step in part of a robust walking program. So the third step to the walking program is understanding that you are doing something every day. Not only walking, but you're mobilizing your spine and hips and strengthening. And so she thought that would be overdoing it, but stenosis itself isn't a strength issue per se. It's not like you can strengthen your way out of stenosis. Now, it is important for you to strengthen your hips and your back extensor muscles to help you fight gravity, because with stenosis, we tend to end up a little bit forward, leaning in that shopping cart, or just using a cane, or pitch forward a little bit. We're trying to improve posture, but it's just hard when you have spinal stenosis. But you need to support your hips and spine with strengthening and mobilizing. So for this particular client, and I outlined some of this in that ebook I was telling you about, is that we're not only walking every day, but we're stretching, we're mobilizing, we're doing that hip flexor to hamstring stretch, okay? We're doing some squats and other flexion-based exercises to help give you the support that you're gonna need for walking. Because if you haven't walked long distances recently, which you most likely haven't, because that's why you're watching this and exploring other treatments, that your body's gonna have to get used to walking again. And so we're gonna improve strength and function while we're doing the walking program. And so we're walking every day, we're stretching and mobilizing every day, we're doing strengthening consistently. And when you bring all of those things together, that's when you have the most relief. And so the very last part of that walking program is that you have to remain consistent. And so you've learned about your pain, you've learned that you need to walk every day, you need to strengthen and mobilize every day, but then you have to stay consistent. You have to stay with it. And this client that I'm talking to you about that went from that 2,000 steps to 8,000 feeling really well, she didn't notice like a rapid improvement right away. It wasn't this and took off. It was slow, it was gradual, because her symptoms, her onset of symptoms were slow and gradual as well. So she started here, she ended up really high and really well, but it was kind of like this. She kind of took off kind of like a route, like the exponential growth, right? So it was a little low, she started maybe noticing some improvement, and then it really took off. Because nerves take some time to heal. They take some time to get used to the walking program and get used to feeling better. And so consistency is key. And that's why it's nice to have resources such as that ebook I was telling you about, the walking program, and it just lays it out for you. It's weeks of what to do and when and what it should feel like. And in this client, when she figured out the cause, she figured that she needed to do more, and she figured out what needed to be a part of the walking program and the rules to follow. She really started noticing some improvement and started feeling well, and it was all worth it, because at the end, when she had those 8,000 steps on her pedometer, she was very proud of herself and she felt very well doing it.